All right, folks, so you just completed a lesson on a 1990 Nike shoe spill, and this was in the same decade as that 1993 Mississippi River flood, which you might feel like, why are we studying these things from way back then? How does it connect to solving the drought in California? And that's going to become really clear actually tomorrow, how this connects. So the first question was completely up to you. I just asked you what you thought would happen to the shoes, and then you clicked on a link that had this map, and this map was showing you where the shoes washed up. And I asked you to make a guess about what caused the shoes to wash up where they did. So remember, location 1 here, that's actually the spot. Let me highlight for you. Location number 1 is the spot where the shoes spilled. And then within just a few months, they started washing up here on the western coast of North America. And then years later, some of these same shoes were in Hawaii. And if you're wondering, how do they know they're from that ship? It had to do with like the make of the shoe, the number of the shoe. And then eventually, years after that, all the way over here. Now, if you're wondering what country is this down here, that is, I believe, the Philippines. So Japan would be up here. And so if you're thinking like me, you are curious why they ended up where they did. And so it brought us to this map next. And I asked you, what is this actually a map of? And all of you Finding Nemo fans, you probably started to understand what it was. These are ocean currents. And so what do we mean by a current? Well, I think of a current more with a river. If you've ever been canoeing or kayaking, you want to go with the current, not against it. But here's the deal with the oceans. They have currents in them too. And they're almost like rivers within the ocean where that surface water is moving in a particular direction. And so for number 3, this is the first one that wasn't just up to you. You needed to have this right answer, recognizing you were seeing a map of ocean currents. Then I asked you to compare these two maps and to try to find a connection between them. And so let me show you something again with the highlighting tool here. When I come here to this, now do you notice this one's closer in, right? You're just seeing the Pacific Ocean. This, you're seeing the whole world. But when I come into the Pacific, where I have my highlighting tool there, this is this circular pattern that is an exact match to the pattern of where the shoes washed up. So what does this tell us? This tells us, and for question 4, that these shoes were actually riding on the currents, that it wasn't just random where these shoes washed up. It was because they were going with the ocean currents. But now it gets us to this. Well, why did the ocean currents do the pattern that they did? And I asked you to open up a map of these global wind patterns. And so when we look at these two maps together, we wonder, this yellow question here, which causes which? Now, what I mean by that is, do currents cause winds, or do winds cause currents? And so if you look with me now at the wind pattern, do you notice how we have the trade winds right here by the equator going east to west? And then and you notice too, the interaction with the land causes this turn. And then you have our wind pattern that's dominant, the westerly winds going west to east. So this east to west trade wind and then west to east westerly wind kind of makes a circle, just like this circle. Okay, so do we think that currents cause the wind, or that global wind patterns cause currents? Well, let's go back to what we already know about wind. Wind is caused by the Sun King, uneven heating by the sun. Hot air rises higher, so its pressure's lower. Colder air sinks lower, so its pressure's higher. And higher pressure air, like air mass 2, always wins. So we know that the sun causes the wind, so that must lead us to believe this. Then the way that the wind blows is actually the force that causes the currents to move around our globe. So here is the key concept in yellow. There's no other way to say this one. You need to go word for word. Ocean currents go in those first 2 blanks. Ocean currents are caused by global wind patterns. Now, tomorrow we're going to actually see how currents and wind patterns are influencing climate in California. So we're going to be getting very close to meeting our next suspect. All right, when you're done with this, submit